What's the difference between being broke or poor? I experienced poverty, but I did not accept it as my fate in life. I knew that there was a way to get out of it, and that I actually achieved dreams that came to me because of a set of circumstances. After not being able to think about anything but my hunger, all of a sudden I had a dream, which was to become a pilot. How can you become a pilot under those circumstances? And that's what people tried to tell me, people that I respected and loved, but I couldn't do it. But I quit telling people about it, so I just went ahead and did it. And I asked and tell the reader too, that no matter what kind of situation he or she is in, if they have something they can be passionate about, they can do it. If I could do it under those circumstances, I'm sure that anybody that, especially here in the United States, if they get over the idea that they're poor and they can't do it, and they're pessimists about it, of course, they will be right. In my case, I went on to, I used all my energy and time to achieve a dream that I really didn't know how it was going to turn out, except that I knew after years of starvation and not thinking just about where my next meal was going to come to, learning that there was something else in life for me. And when I write this for anybody that has a chance to read it, I'm thinking in terms of what you can be passionate about and then pursue it. My life from that time on went where I didn't care about my poverty. I did have some breaks. I had what I did when I first was exposed to flying, I started going back to the airport regularly because I wanted to be around airplanes and learning all I could. And there happened to be a woman that sold sandwiches to all the people in the flight school where I was trying to make a living or learn to fly. And she would give me a sandwich every day. She knew I didn't have the money. I always think that she saved my life. But I was helping the mechanics by handing them tools, or I would wash airplanes. I would do anything that they needed or they wanted me to do. And in turn, some of the instructors would take me up once in a while, sometimes with intervals of 2 weeks or so. And they would show me some of the arts about flying. And that, to me, that was the ultimate. Not every day it was that I could fly, but when I could fly, that's what made me live another few days until the next flight. And I tried to learn everything about it, about flying. The lessons were not very frequent. At this time of flying, and when you're trying to learn to fly, that's when it's very important that you fly every day, if at all possible. Well, there was an instructor in our school that I was impressed with my perseverance and my willingness to do all the work around that they wanted me to do. There was no agreement with the school that they were going to give me anything in return. The mechanics were thankful that they had someone that would help them by handing them tools and that, but they couldn't do anything for me. But this instructor, one of the instructors, his name was Mr. Jimenez, took it upon himself to take me every time he had a chance. So most of the time it was at the end of the day, after all the instruction, all the flying had been done. He would call me and I'd drop whatever I was doing, and he would tell me what we were going to do. Maybe we had 20 minutes or so that we could go up, and he would tell me about the basics, that we're going to make turns, 90-degree turns, 180-degree turns. He would tell me what to do. I think about Mr. Jimenez. He was at about 35, and he always wore his Ray-Ban glasses. I could never see his eyes, but I could see my reflection on his glasses. And it was such a joy to hear him telling me all about flying. We'd get in the airplane, and In those days, there were mostly pipers with a tandem seat arrangement, front and back. I would make sure that the magnetos were off, the brakes were on, and then Mr. Jimenez would turn the prop a couple of times. In those days, most of the engines didn't have starter. You had to start them by hand. So then he would say, the contact, and I would turn the magnetos on and get ready in the throttle, make sure the brakes are on. Then he would turn the prop, and the little engine would start, and it was like music to my ears. Every time that an engine started, to me, it was just, even now, at the thrill of hearing an engine running really makes me be alive. Anyway, he'd get in the airplane. He talked me through the taxiing and takeoff, and he would take off, but I would follow him on the dual controls. And very soon he would he says, "It's your airplane." And then I was flying it, and I was where I belonged. To me, that was living. And he would teach me some of the basics. Like I say, it was a very short time, some 15, 20 minutes. Then we came back to do what I liked the most, the approach and the landing. And that we would land, we park the airplane, I go back to the life of hunger and wait for another day. In those days, I was doing some odd jobs to make a little more money to eat. I was working for some group of artists that drew cartoons for magazines, and they paid me 7 pesos a week to do be a gopher for them. They had me making coffee and picking up things. They did teach me how to develop film, which was interesting. And then the next day, I go out to the airport again and go through that routine. Once in a while, some of the rich students that had their airplanes that I maintained and washed, they would take me up to show me their skills in flying. And the reason that I survived that was purely luck, because I had one in particular, one of the pilots, his nickname was Super Loco, or Super Crazy, and he lived up to his name. We would take off in his airplane. I was always in the front seat of his Piper, and he flew from the rear seat. I remember one day when we headed from Mexico City to the town of Puebla, and he started getting the airplane down to right over the ground, over the highway, going in the opposite direction that the traffic was coming. And I remember this one day that we were flying right into a car, and I could see the driver's eyes coming out of their sockets. He didn't know what to do, and very soon Super Loco would pull the nose up and go over the car and laughing aloud about what he was doing. I had several other rides like that with him. One of them was in Xochimilco. I don't know if you people have ever heard about Xochimilco. It's a lake that existed from way back in the days of the Aztecs. And there were 3 lakes, 2 dried up, but Xochimilco still has water. And they made channels out of the lake, and they had cypress trees on the sides of the channels. Well, this day, Super Loco came over with his Piper with me in the front seat, and got down to the water level at maximum speed. And in those days, the lake was used for tourism. They had people that rode in little boats and bought flowers on the side. And that day they had an added attraction. He came heading for a group of those boats. And at the last minute, he pulled the nose up and started laughing again, and he did it again a couple of times. And I swore then that I would never go up with him again, because it scared me to death. But I never had the opportunity to ride with him again, because he got killed the following day. He told everybody he was going to make 13 loops, and he crashed after the 13th loop. And to me, that almost ended my flying career, after seeing a person that I respected, that I loved, although he was crazy, but I knew he was a good pilot, and to see him there in pieces. It was that I really thought, and I didn't realize that aviation could kill you. So I quit going to the airport for a few days. And that when I finally went back, I knew that what I had to do was learn to be a good pilot and not a crazy pilot, and so that was one of my adventures.